Hello everyone, this is Jason with On The Play Games with a spicy review of the top 2 decks from this past weekend's Hyperdrive Premier Launch Event hosted by Myrtle Beach Games. So stay tuned to the end to see how the third game of the final match was won by Noah with an explosive finish. First, let's start by having a look at how the top 4 shaped up. We had 2 ECL Sabine decks, 1 Django Tarkentown, and 1 Cad Bane Tarkentown. All 4 decks are part of the top meta decks in the current Premier format, so it was no surprise to see these 4 decks making it to the top 4. Sabine has also been a major part of the total decks played at the Planetary Qualifiers these past few weeks. Sabine has also had a dominant top 8 conversion, being just under Han Yellow, and Sabine has had the second most Planetary Qualifier wins of the January PQs. Han Yellow being the only deck that has outperformed Sabine at the Planetary Qualifier level of play. So, let's take a look at the top 2 Sabine decks, starting with Noah's first place Sabine list. The first thing I took from it is that it has 51 cards. Both the top 2 Sabine players electing to play more than 50 cards, which I would not say is a traditional way of building your standard Sabine ECL list. It also did not have 3 wing leaders in the main deck, Noah electing to have the third one in the sideboard. A very interesting choice. It could be because of the ping deck type meta that we have, with Django Tarkentown being able to tap down whatever unit you put the extra 2 experience counters on, but it was a very interesting decision that he made. In addition to that, I noticed that he had 2 Katsuanu in the main board, this having a more aggressive 3 power stat line for a 2 cost unit, and the one deficit to it, it is not usually considered in these decks because it is not a rebel, and secondly, it does not have a 3rd point of toughness, making it a little bit easier to kill. However, it does have Saboteur, which can be very important in these matchups. Also, 2 copies of Spec Force Soldier allowed him to remove Sentinel and to help with Quinlan Voss matchups as a 1-cost unit, something we'll see even more in the second place deck. This deck also had a more explosive set of cards, including 2 Heroic Sacrifices, 2 Rebel Assaults, and 2 Heroic Resolves. This gave it a little bit more of an explosive footing in the matchup, and we will see how that played out in the finals. It also had a 1-1 split of a Sundari Peacekeeper and Alliance X-Wing. Most lists will either put 2 in the main when it comes to Sundari Peacekeeper, or have 2 relegated to the sideboard, and then Alliance X-Wing will either be played in the list or just removed from the list. Noah electing to do a 1-1 split was a very interesting choice as well. The last choice that he made that was very interesting and also kind of leads to that kind of aggressive list that he had is he chose to do 2 General Dodanas over having 2 Admiral Yalarans, further showing how this deck is built to be aggressive and powerful. We move on to William's list. So we want to take a look at it. It played 52 cards. It also played 2 R2-D2s, 2 Soldiers of the 501st, with 2 Spec Force Soldiers in the sideboard that gave him up to 6 1-drops in a Quinn Voss matchup. Very important, and we'll take a look at a recent Quinn Voss list to show how that helps in just a moment. There are also 2 main deck Sundari Peacekeepers, and putting 2 Admiral Yalarans in the sideboard to help boost the defense stat lines against ping damage decks like Cad Bane, Quinlan Voss, and Django Tarkentown. 2 timely interventions gave this list the ability to ambush out units more than just the one time with the Energy Conversion Lab. Now, let's take a look at the Appleton, Wisconsin, Quinlan Voss, Tarkentown list. If you'll notice, there are no 1-drop units. And as I was showing before in the top 2 decks from our event that did play 1-cost units, they had the ability to kind of skirt around Quinlan Voss's turn 1 ability to do 1 point of damage to a unit that cost the same as a unit that was being played by having those 1-drop units in their list. Very good choice. I think it was very well positioned, and I believe we did have at least 1 Quinlan Voss list this weekend. So it's very interesting to take a look at that. It is a slim 50-card list. It does have a strong rebel theme, almost like a Sabine list. It uses cunning and aggression cards to put pressure on the opponent's hands, like Spark of the Rebellion, Force Throw, and K2SO, all being able to reduce hand size. There are 3 techs in the sideboard to give this deck a lot of long legs against more controlling decks. Ezra, Plo Koon, and the leader, Quinlan Voss, synergize well with Force Throw for an additional removal at critical points in the curve. The sideboard, having 3 Grogus, also gives additional force synergy, and that Grogu can be quite a pain when trying to deal with getting your units across the board. The sideboard of 3 spare the targets over waylays to collect bounties was definitely a lean in towards the boss decks and preventing them from gaining their double bounties and getting ahead with their bounty collections. Now, let's turn to the Hyperdrive Series player board standings after the Premier Launch Event hosted by Myrtle Beach Games. As you can see, Noah Clayson sits at the top of the boards with 5 points after his first place finish. William Hannon has 4 points, but will not be able to attend the second event due to a commitment to a Planetary Qualifier that weekend. We wish William the best of luck at this event. However, this leaves the door open for Jason, Josh, Jamie, Ryan, Rick, or Bobby to come over the top of Noah if Noah is not able to make a top 8 appearance in the second event. If any of the named players were to win the second event at Grandline Games on February 9th, they could be in first place, earning them the Tier 1 reward choice. Remember, Tier 1 at this event will be the one player at the top of the boards at the conclusion of the event and get a pick between either the Tatooine map pin board featuring the New Hope Luke Skywalker pin or the 2 deluxe Red Saber Series Funko Pops that include both the Darth Maul and Savage Oppressed figures. Also, Tony, TJ, Scott, Steven, or Doug could win the event and tie Noah if our current leader does not make a top 8 appearance. This would force a tiebreaker in the form of a D20 high roll to see who gets the pick for the Tier 1 rewards. Whichever Tier 1 reward is not picked will go to the Tier 2 rewards, and players in that pool will have a chance to win the remaining reward for the or other rewards that will be announced at the Grandline event. In addition, we are announcing right now that all players that did not make Tier 1 but have 2 points at the conclusion of the Grandline event on February 9th will be part of the Tier 2 pool. So any player that did not make the Premier Launch event this past weekend and makes it to the top 8 will also be part of the Tier 2 pool of players. Looking at the player standings, we can see that anything could happen, making the player standings already very exciting. We wish all players the best of luck in the event and the possible rewards that await them. With this said, now we will take a look at the third game, the final match between Noah and William. All right, we're going to take the action down to the table. This is game 3 of the finals. It looks like Noah took game number 1, William taking game number 2, and now the initiative goes back to Noah for this final match or final game of the final match. Both players are presenting their decks for the opponent to cut, and they're dealing out their first 6 and taking a look at what they plan to play or put down. It looks like Noah, I did not see that first card he put down. He is... I'm not sure what that card was he put down. He hit his hand pretty well. But he has dropped down his 2 resources. He's waiting now on William to make a decision on whether or not he's going to resource or go ahead and take a mulligan. William making a wise choice to take his time on these decisions. These matches are 75 minutes long in the final cuts, and they did not decide to split prize support. I don't even think the conversation was even had. They just went straight into the game. These guys had a great demeanor towards one another. The banter around the table was very inspired. Lots of new players checking out the game. One of the players, Ryan, was showing another bystander, some of the mechanics and rules of the game and how it kind of works. William and his father, Anthony, the shop owner at Myrtle Beach Games, were having a conversation about who was going to take the Ahsoka on the Play Games Hyperspace or Hyperdrive event mat. That was kind of hilarious. I think the conversation went along the lines of something of Anthony just saying, that mat's mine, or something like that. So it looks like Battlefield Marine was the first play Noah put out, followed by an A-Wing, both players dodging one another in their lanes. Very classic Sabine maneuvers. Noah is now readying up his units, and he has the first chance to put an assault on the base, and he puts out a Fleet Lieutenant, putting 3 points of damage on Williams, or 5 points of damage, excuse me, on Williams' base. William decides to put out a Wing Leader to drop 2 experience tokens onto his A-Wing, and putting those out there, representing that extra +1/+1 for each one of those. Noah goes ahead and puts a point of damage on each base, bringing it up to a 6-1. The attack coming in to Noah's base is going to leave both players at 6 points on their bases, and Noah claims initiative, and William decides to pass, not putting the additional point of damage on each base. Sometimes you have to play a little bit conservative with that ping damage, especially when you're not on the initiative. And so far, Noah has not allowed William to get that initiative token. And he is readying up his full resources. We're already on the 3rd turn. And there goes a Bright Hope, throwing a Sentinel in the space, kind of closing down that lane to his base. William elects to go ahead and flip his Sabine. I believe I saw a Dark Saber in his hand. With Noah tapped out, it looks like he's going to have an opportunity to put that on his Sabine. Noah looking at his options. He could send 2 units into the Sabine if William doesn't do anything to make Sabine any larger. Or he can just send the damage into the base. He decides to go ahead and send it into the base, bringing William up to 9. William goes ahead and puts the Dark Saber. That is, Sabine is an absolute monster right now, representing 7 points of damage towards Noah's base. Noah taking a look at his Fleet Lieutenant and deciding what he's going to do with it. He goes ahead and puts it towards the base, bringing William up to 12 points of damage on his base. And now Sabine swings in, doing 7 points of damage, taking Noah up to 13. So there's now 13, 12. And he could ping first, or he could deploy. He's going to decide to deploy. William goes ahead and sacrifices the Wing Leader into the Bright Hope, putting 2 points of damage on that. Noah swings into William for 3 more points of damage from his Sabine. The A-Wing takes out the Bright Hope, clearing the air or space arena. And now we are moving into the 4th turn after Noah has claimed initiative and William has passed. And the bases sit at 15 points of damage for William, 13 for Noah. And Noah has the first move of this round of play. Both players again taking their time and making decisions as everything is on the line here. The winner of this event will walk away with 5 points towards the player boards and a huge advantage going into the second event. Though I did hear William say he was not able to make the second event due to already being committed to a Planetary Qualifier. But there is Noah dropping down the ECL Poe Dameron. He's going to throw away a card to get rid of the Dark Saber and then crash into a Sabine, putting 2 points of damage on the Poe Dameron and clearing the way on the ground unit side of the field to William's base, and has a 2-point damage advantage. Now William, he also has a Poe Dameron. He has a K2SO. He could K2SO into the Poe Dameron and do 3 points of damage to the base. Pretty nice move there. What is he going to decide to do? Now, these players really do have to be careful because this, once you get below 10 points or right around 10 points of life on your base, it really becomes every decision you make could be the decision that either wins you the game or loses you the game. All right, we're looking at William taking his ECL. He's going to go ahead and elect to put out the Poe Dameron. He's tapping his 4 or 5 resources for the Poe Dameron. He hasn't chosen where he's going to attack yet. He looks like he has a heroic sacrifice, a wrecker, and I didn't quite see the third card that he's got pulled over to the side. He's going to go ahead and attack into the Fleet Lieutenant, putting 3 points of damage on his Poe Dameron, and he is discarding a For a Cause I Believe In to put 2 damage on Noah's base, leaving them both at 15 points of damage. Noah now has 6 more points of damage he can put on the base over 2 turns, or 2 actions, while he just goes ahead and claims. All right, William's going to take advantage of that claim, and he's going to go ahead and put 5 more points of damage on Noah's base, taking it up to 20 points of damage. And they are going to go ahead and pass and move into the next round of play. There are 2 cards drawn by William. He has got his 6, and a wrecker would really be great, but all he's got to do is swing over with 1 unit right now. Noah has to end the game in 1 action, or William will either send over his Poe Dameron or his A-wing, the A-wing that is sitting with the 2 experience counters on it. I can do exactly 5 points of damage, so it is down to the wire. Looks like Noah has a Rebel Assault. However, that will only give him 8 points of damage. Not quite enough. He's tapping 1, though. Is he going to go? He's going to go with a Heroic Assault. Looks like he's indicating the Poe Dameron. The Poe Dameron is going to get a +2 on the attack. He's going to go into the base for 8 and pitch the Rebel Assault to do the additional 2 points of damage to the base, making William's base go to 25 points of damage, and that ends the match at exactly 25 points of damage. Exactly what he needed to close it out. Very well done. And it all started with him seeing the line that he had to go ahead and take the initiative and just trust that he could get through to the next turn and be able to make that play. And he was able to do that. Very, very good line of play, sir, for our young champion, Noah. At 14 years of age, this gentleman is making already making a name for himself by coming in first place at our event this weekend, putting him at the top of the leaderboards. And in just a moment, he will be presented with the champion Ahsoka Darth Vader mat from On the Play Games and all the host shops that are part of the Hyperdrive Series. And we are very, very excited for what he is going to do in the second event. I've already heard he plans on being there at Grandline Games on February 9th. So make sure you're there as well. Anybody who made it to the first event, just by signing up, will automatically have 2 points. And it looks like 2 points is going to be exactly what you need to be in the Tier 2 prize support. So that means that if Noah decides to take the Tatooine pin board featuring Luke Skywalker, the New Hope pin on it, with no pinholes in this thing, it is in perfect shape, then there will be 2 Funko Pops, the Red Saber series featuring Darth Maul and Savage Opress. Or if he decides to take the 2 Funko Pops, then the Tatooine pin board is going to be part of the Tier 2 raffle off at our second event at Grandline Games. So it's going to be really exciting to see what happens there and see if anybody can catch Noah in that second event. So congratulations again, Noah. Thank you so much for being in our first event and making it out. And we are looking at our 4 shots. We just finished up Myrtle Beach Games. Our next stop is going to be Grandline. Then we're going to go to Final Round Game Shop for our flight to the finale. And then our premier seasonal finale is going to be at Xynergy Gamers. All that information about those can be found at the On the Play Games Facebook page. The videos that have been made on the On the Play Games YouTube channel. Plus, we have our Discord, so don't forget to check that out for sneak peek looks at what's going to be out there for the next 3 events. That's where you'll find the announcements for the guaranteed prize, or I shouldn't say prize, the guaranteed player rewards that'll be out there given out by On the Play Games and these host shops. Just a special thank you for coming out. And this is all in addition to the prize support of the events, which, by the way, if you look at some of these Planetary Qualifiers that are charging you $30 and $40 to get into, they're giving you store credit back. At 60 players, you could be looking at a $750 cash prize stipend being divided amongst the top 4 at our Hyperdrive events. So these events are really geared to coming out and having the players come out. We've also got our player boards that are going to be giving out as additional rewards from On the Play Games. And just, it really is a great series to be a part of. And with all these Planetary Qualifiers being canceled due to weather, we have just happened to kind of slip past the snowstorms for our first event and got in between the 2 snowstorms. And now we're looking at pretty good weather looking in the forecast for Grandline Games event as well. So come on out and join us from Columbia, from Myrtle Beach, from down towards the Walterboro area. We welcome everybody in the South Carolina area out to come join us, as we really do want to make it to where we get an event where there is a large cash prize stipend to hand out in addition to a bunch of packs. And I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that these events are going on, and we have some great players, some young great players. And in that last match, you saw William, who was in the top 4 players at the Planetary Qualifier last season. So we have some serious competition at our events. So come on out and check it out and see if you can be like Noah and take down one of these events in face of one of the strongest players in the state. So with that said, may the force be with you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.